Hello, good morning. Oh, what a weekend. It's Monday again. It is Monday, isn't it? Yeah, it is Monday. God. Oh, it's just Monday. I don't like Mondays, but you know that. I've said that. You know, life just goes on and on and on like a treadmill, you know. And you've got to ask yourself, what is the driving force here? And people talk about archons, jinn, the greys. There's all these different characters populating our reality, you know. Of course, when you go to school and you're a child, they tell you that such things don't exist, you know, and that intuition is bullshit, and that you're all delusional, and that all that exists in reality is what you can see and taste and touch. Yes. I mean, schools exist to kill our imagination. There's no doubt about it. They want to kill our curiosity, our imagination, and our creativity. And I believe that there is a reason for that. I do. What's up, sweetie? Just a minute, guys. Oh, it's okay. Ooh, there you go. Right. Yes, that's my boy, Looms. He likes to sit in the windowsill, you know, so he can frighten all the dogs, and he's there, he's going, yeah, fuck you, Rottweiler, you know. That's what he likes to do. Anyway, right. Ultimately, and again, okay, I'll always say this because I think it's important that, you know, to let you know that this is just my opinion, my theory. I have theories, I have no evidence, I have no proof, and frankly, you know, I'm never going to claim that I know anything, because all I ever have are theories, and I think that is true for everybody. I don't think anybody actually knows what's going on, and well, maybe some people do, I don't know, but I don't think there are really, you know. And I also believe that my reality is my quest, and so my reality may well be vastly different than somebody else's reality, you know. Who's to say that reality is one thing for everybody? I'm not so sure that it is. Reality is a very strange and mysterious thing. Anyhow, I wanted to start with this, that I came across this documentary. It was all about near-death experiences, you know, and we had this doctor. He was I think he was a neurosurgeon, you know, and he was there on this podium looking very authoritative, you know, and official and whatnot, and he spoke in this very serious voice, and he said, well, and these show us that heaven is real. And he said this with a straight face, and I thought to myself, my God, now there is an example of somebody with no imagination, no curiosity, dumber than a bag of hammers. And this guy's a neurosurgeon. Very good at maths though, I bet. Anyhow, I thought, wow, you know, it amazes me. It truly does that intelligent people, right, actually go to church where they believe this whole story of some old geezer who lives up above in the clouds and who smites us down here for even the smallest of infractions. You know, there's angels and there's devils and pitchforks and eternal damnation and all this type of rubbish, yet, and they believe all that, and they call themselves intelligent people, and then at the same time, if you start talking to them about, say, elves, or alternative histories, extreme human antiquity, etc., etc., anything outside the box, they accuse you of being delusional and mad. Talk about double standards. I mean, really. Anyway, this guy was clearly full of shit, and You know, he had bullshit written all over him. In fact, they should make him stand with his face against the wall wearing a placard saying, I am full of shit. And then the teacher should say, right, you come back in here now. Won't you try it on the blackboard 1,000,000 times? I am full of shit. That's what they should do to him. Because near-death experiences, if you really start looking into that area, if you want to call it that, you'll work out that it's not uniform at all. It isn't. Some people, like born-again Christians, you know, they will die and they, or well, temporarily, you know, they die temporarily, and they will have this experience where, you know, they meet Jesus and they're shown hell, and oh, this is what will happen if you're really, really bad, or if you don't change your ways, you know, you will go to hell, you know, but you will burn forever and ever and ever. But then you get people, there's been examples of people that were born-again Christians and that had an NDE, and they completely changed, and they walked away from being a born-again Christian. They said, well, actually, this whole idea of a wrathful God is bullshit. I saw something very different, and the NDEs had a profoundly transformative, positive effect on them and their consciousness, and therefore on the world around them, their relatives, their friends, you know, etc., the people that they interact with. And it's been very positive and powerful and healing. I would say that there are some really dark experiences. There was one of a girl who died of an ecstasy overdose, who basically found herself in some sort of in-between world, you know, where she could see everybody but nobody could see her, and it was like, hello, I'm here, you know, and everybody was just going about their business, but everything had been drained of colour, and she was just wandering around going, oh my god, what's happened? And you could see her body. It was weird, but you know, obviously they brought her back to life and she was back in her body. I've heard people talk of amazing golden cities and meeting their you know, their deceased relatives. I've heard of, I mean, a wild variety of stories and experiences, you know, and you've got to take everything with a scoop of salt. But I've done a lot of reading on this subject, a lot, and I've got to say that, you know, I mean, there's a guy called Cameron Day. He claims that NDEs are basically another gaslighting operation where you die, you go there, they make you feel really, really guilty over all the mistakes you've made and slap you around a bit, send you back, wipe your memory, send you back down here again, and so forth and so on, ad nauseam forever, which just, the stories, the evidence, if you can call it that, oh, I've done it again, right, doesn't support that. You know, people really, a lot of people, in fact most people, think in very black and white terms. They really do. I don't know if that is because humanity is so afraid that we want certainty, even if it's bad. It's better to have certainty. Well, I can live with the fact that I don't know, because I know that there's always more to be discovered, and I don't need certainty. Because I have lots of curiosity and I have imagination, because, well, dare I say it, I have a good level of IQ, you know. The IQ test will say that I'm dumb. Yeah, they always do, you know. I did the Mensa one, God knows how many times. And you know, I scored the highest on the Mensa IQ test, and I was pissed out of my mind. I mean, completely pissed. I was seeing double, you know, and I did this Mensa IQ test and I scored quite well. But it was all like, oh, I'll just go for that, and then I'll go for that, and then I'll go for that, you know, and anyway, yeah, so this doctor, this neurosurgeon, he was an idiot. He was an idiot. He was one of the people, you know, he was one of the experts. We live in a world where we're told that we don't know anything, and we're all idiots and we don't know a damn thing, and we have the experts to tell us what to think and what to eat and what to wear and where to go. Everything is prescribed for us by the experts, you know. Of course, the experts are completely full of shit, and they're put there by the powers that be to lead us like good little sheep, you know, or lemmings more like, over the cliff. I mean, it's like, oh, it's good to drink 10 bottles of wine a day when you're pregnant, and then the next week, oh, it's really bad to drink red wine when you're pregnant, you know, and people, oh, I don't know what to do, and they're all discombobulated, you know, because they listen to the experts. I say, do not listen to the experts, because you will get very confused. You know what you need to do. Believe me, you do. The experts, you know, they like everything to be uniform. You know, they are the uniform people. They are fully paid up party members of the uniform party. You know, they're party animals. They're probably like Tupperware parties, you know, where they get all high and trippy on bisphenol A and get together and talk about uniformity. I don't know. It's just mental. I say, be the hunter, not the hunted. You know, I get this from an oracle deck I have, and there's a card there, and on it says, you know, be the hunter, not the hunted. Take care of your consciousness, people, because if you don't look after your own consciousness, somebody else will, to your detriment. This brings me to the point I'm making this video. Okay, so who or what is creating or arranging reality? I mean, and how are they doing it? Now, I've been thinking about that for ages, and I've had many different theories over the years, you know, and my theories will never be fixed, because shit happens, and whatever I'm saying or believing or thinking now probably isn't the same as what I'm thinking, believing, feeling or knowing in a year or maybe even a week from now. But today I feel that what's going on is that we are born into this world for whatever reason. I believe I chose to come here. I believe that I'm on a quest, and it's about light and dark. It's about alchemy, something like that. Anyway, so then you're very, very hijacked. Your consciousness is hijacked. You know, you're traumatized often enough. You go through a lot of shit. You're in this world that is actually really quite dark and awful. There are good things in this world as well. This is true. There is love. This is true. There is goodness. This is true. There is beauty and creativity. But there is a shitload of really, really dark stuff going on that is just beyond our imagination almost. You know, and you get reality shoved down your throat from the minute you start going to school. Well, often enough by your own parents, if they're stupid enough to put you in front of a television screen at age 2. You know, and they like to shove reality down your throat to the extent where you think it is like this, you know. And basically, ultimately, you know, they want us to create a subconscious. Now, I liken this to kind of like a house. Imagine yourself as being a house, right? So, you know, you have the attic, and you have, you know, the living room and all that, and then you have the basement, and the basement is your subconscious. It's where you store all this stuff that you don't really want to look at or acknowledge, because you're taught you mustn't look at it, and you're taught that you mustn't acknowledge it. You know, all these pesky things that go on in your head, you know, like somebody says something to you and it makes you feel really, really upset and angry, but something says, oh, you shouldn't feel upset and you shouldn't feel angry because you're out of order and that isn't nice, and whoo and ah. All that goes down into the basement. It's like a cesspool. You know, people used to have those in medieval times, and the shit cart used to come around on occasion, and it used to get loaded up and carted off. Well, your cesspool never gets emptied, and it just fills up and it fills up and fills up and fills up. It's all the crap you don't want to look at about yourself because you thought that it's bad and that you're bad, and it's the shadow. And it's sort of a part of this whole fragmentation that I'm talking about in terms of our psyche. So the powers that be, the dark forces, they use our subconscious to manifest what they want in this reality. That is how I feel that this works. It's, yeah, let me see. 9/11. I mean, you know, in television films, in TV series, in music videos, I mean the Twin Towers and the various, you know, symbology and you know, it was all there, wasn't it? It was all there for years and years and years, you know, before it happened. Now some people think that they're telling us this is what we're going to do, and that they have to tell us this is what they're going to do. Now this, you know, in some way to garner our free will. Well, that's bullshit, because people don't even know what they're looking at, because they're not conscious and they're not with it, so they haven't got a clue, and there's no free will, because if they knew what they were seeing, they would say, we don't want that, and no, we do not consent. So that's just utter nonsense, really. I'm not saying that's not how it works, but to me that seems like, well, that's, you know. I think that really what's happening there is that we are subjected to this imagery over a period of several years, maybe even decades. It goes into somehow into our subconscious, where it gets mulched in with our own inner darkness, and we actually end up somehow manifesting these things. Sandy Hook was another one. There was a lot of stuff going on imagery wise before that took place, and it happens. Now, was that a false flag? I don't even want to go into that, because, you know, I don't know. It was a terrible thing. I think they use our consciousness to which is hijacked in some way, to manifest what they want. That is what I think. So fear, rage, hate, self-hate. There's a lot of self-hate. You know, people don't treat themselves well at all. You know, everywhere I go, people are really overweight. People don't eat right. People are literally full of shit. We all are, to an extent, you know, we really are. And I think they can use that very well, because they have trouble being, living, navigating, manipulating this reality. They're not from here, they don't belong here. They're in this world, but they're not of it. Yes? They need us to be able to do what they do in this realm, and to be able to stay here. And this is why our consciousness now, our being, is so stunted, because you see, I have seen what unlimited creativity can do. It's amazing, truly. I have seen a place that was here before the fall, because, you know, before everything got infected with this virus, this sickness of evil, a sickness. Now we are these stunted meatbags shoveling around, getting from A to B, and disowning our own emotions and our own mental processes, because like a lot of these thoughts aren't even our own. This is true. Yet there is an emotional reaction, an emotional response of guilt, of fear, of shame, and all that shit goes right down into the subconscious, because we don't want to feel those feelings. Because it's, oh, that means I'm a bad person. Oh no, can't look at that, mustn't look at that, mustn't look at that. We do this collectively as well, to all the crap that's going on in the world, you know. It's like pedophilia, oh, don't look at it, don't look at it. Snuff films, oh, don't look at that, don't look at that. No, 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 let's pretend everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is fine. It's not. It's not fine in here, and it's not fine out there, and the two are without a doubt indelibly connected. They are using that. They're using us as a funnel. They use our consciousness in some way to create and manifest the reality that they want here. I also think that we're dealing with beings that exist on a different time level. So what to us is like decades or even centuries, for them is perhaps like minutes or hours. You know, and that is what I think about that. So this brings me back to our consciousness. We need to know that we are responsible for our own consciousness. We are, you know. We're not just to sit back and, oh well, yeah, just let it all happen and just oh well, you know, that's just all wrong, you know. We're not to abdicate now. We are to step forward and to take charge. This isn't. There's more going on than that, because you see, I woke up because something literally actually touched the top of my head and boom, off I went. And that was 13 years ago, and I've been walking this road ever since, you know. But at first it was all about the conspiracy and it was all out there, but more and more it became about the in here as well, and I began to see that there is a connection here and that consciousness is pivotal to it all. You know, truly is. But, you know, taking responsibility for our consciousness is a bit of a journey, because, you know, we're not used to doing that. You know, we're used to being very, what's the word? Apathetic. We are, you know, we're made to be apathetic. They bludgeon any kind of initiative out of us, really, you know, mostly. You know, or if there is initiative, it's to make money and to consume, you know, and that sort of thing. But you know, that's just not, no. What starts to happen, I find, maybe not for everybody, and maybe different for everybody. In fact, it probably is. But what happened for me was that a clearing process began. I liken it very much to homotoxicology, right? Where you put a little bit of the poison in a vial and you mix it with set amount of water and do that, and you take it in order to set off a Herxheimer reaction. Your body starts clearing itself out. Well, it's the same with this inner poison, this energetic negative poison, which has us hijacked. So the little bit of poison that gets ingested is the catalyst, you know, and so stuff starts happening that will go into us and bring up stuff, you know, and so, you know, awakening, you know, very much, and you go within yourself, you awaken. Stuff starts happening, and all of a sudden all these emotions are coming up. Vast amounts of rage, self-hatred, all of loads and loads of stuff. In other words, you know, the cesspool, the doors are being opened, it stinks, and it's got to come out. I've spoken about this, God knows, probably many times before, you know. It's no good for it to be sitting there in the dark, you know. It just isn't, people. It's got to be cleared out. We have to look at our own consciousness as it pertains to our minds, you know, the picture of Dorian Gray and all this emotional negative energy, because I honestly believe that we are being used, in a sense, yes, as batteries, but more than that, they are using us, this negative energy within us, because, you know, how do they do that? Well, you know, the worst case scenario, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, always expect the worst and at least you won't be disappointed. That's one way in which they're doing that. I mean, we're so afraid all the time. We worry all the time. Not everybody does that, but most people really do. They do. So they imagine the worst case scenario. Well, what do you think happens when you imagine the worst case scenario all the time? Do you know what I mean? That's a case in point. So when all these people were being subjected to this 9/11 imagery long before it happens, that's a kind of subtle manipulation of consciousness there. And I reckon that is how they manifest the reality that they want. And of course, when these things happen, like 9/11, it's a massive ritual. It really is. And it gives them great power, because that is how that works in black magic. It does, you know. So, yeah, I say that we need to start taking back our power, you know, and to take charge of our own consciousness, which is not something that will happen overnight, but, you know, step by step, people, you know, be aware of yourself, be aware of what you're thinking, be aware of what you're feeling, and don't reject that part of yourself, because I keep saying this, your worth, your value is intrinsic, you know. Forgive yourself. We're used to this wrathful, angry God, you know, who lives on a fucking cloud, who is always punishing us, you know. And again, this is all done on purpose, because we do that to ourselves. We really do. And we need to become aware of that, and we need to stop doing that, because you know what? We're not really guilty. We did not make the world this way. We're just really wounded, and we're really traumatized, and we need to start loving ourselves and nurturing ourselves and looking after ourselves a bit more. You know? That's important. There's just not enough love in this world, you know. I'll tell you something. There's a small town in Italy somewhere. It's up in the mountains, and it's got a very aging population, and I think there's not really a great deal of young people left there, because of course there's no work. Another one of these things, you know, more and more people are having to go to the cities to get the work and blah blah, you know, anyway, but that's another story for another day. Anyway, the people in this little village live very, very long. I think there's a guy, there's like 130 or something, and they're very healthy and nobody's ever sick. So the scientist, an expert, got involved because he's like, oh, what's going on there? And he thought that maybe it was something in the water, or they were eating loads of Brussels sprouts or something. But it turned out that they had a really deep-rooted sense of community there. You know, these people, they had each other's back. They were very creative. They used to get together and perform musical events, and get together and make food and eat and have little festivals and creativity. And they cared for each other. They all left their doors open. There was no crime, and they were really just happy. And that there was a lot of love. So, you know, I think that scientist is probably still out there. His mind boggling to me, I still haven't got a clue. I don't get it at all. Where to me, it's bloody obvious, you know, what's going on there. Love. The power of love, you know. Again, this is not Barry White we're talking about here, you know, we're talking about love. Love is fierce. Love is not, you know, pink and fluffy. Love is very, very fierce. Love comes to destroy all that is dark. Love says, right, let's get on with this shit and let's get all this filth sorted out. That boil needs to be lanced, and that cesspool needs to be emptied. Right? Let's clean this shit show up and then grow some beautifulness there. You know, death has to come before rebirth. It's inevitable. It is how it is, you know, and our consciousness is important. So, you know, I cannot advocate this enough. We need to start looking at our own consciousness. You know, it's important, people. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's about all I wanted to say today. Oh, I think, yes, one more quote. Imagination is the best weapon we have in our battle against mundane reality. If you're not taking charge of your consciousness, you won't really make a lot of progress. But if you are taking charge of your consciousness, and if you're really, really willing to walk this path and continue to travel inwards, you will find that your imagination grows, that your creativity grows, that your compassion grows, your discernment grows, your knowing grows, etc, etc, etc. It's worth doing. It's hard work, but it's worth doing, you know. It's a clearing process, you know, and it will take us to the gateway. It will take us to the gateway, you know, because we're not meant to be prisoners of the dark side here forever and ever and ever, you know. We will do that, experience that, until such a point that we are ready to fully awaken and to start to liberate ourselves. And that's it, really. Well, that's how I see it, really. That's it. So I'm gonna go now. Enjoy Monday. Take care, my people.